Hey everyone, it's Alexis with Create Your Future. I am back with a brand new video. And today I am talking about a client that I have had so many rave reviews about that I've done 2 videos now about and referencing. This is the 3rd video that touches upon her story, how she recreated her specific person. This is the 3rd week in a row. So it's a part 3. The first 2 videos were finally see results in your 3D with your SP, part 1, part 2. This is part 3. I might come up with a different title that's for part 3. You never know, because I have never done a 3-part video. I've always done 1 part, 2 part. Here is part 3. Okay. So that's what I'm talking about today, about manifesting for your specific person, changing your reality, changing your relationship, creating that connection, the emotionality, and really creating that you are taken care of, that you feel like your person is there for you, and that you can finally receive the manifestation. Exciting stuff. Okay. Like always, though, you guys, before I get started, the links for booking one-on-one coaching, one-on-one hypnosis, the links to all my courses, pre-recorded hypnosis audios are in the box below. Amazing. Okay. So yeah, I think that this is now, I've had so many clients that have responded to her story that relate to it. And that's why I've created a part 3. Okay. Just to kind of bring you up to speed. And as a reminder, this is a client of mine that felt very frustrated, very irritated with herself, with him, and then with manifesting in general. Okay. She came to coaching feeling very frustrated, irritated, angry. She couldn't do another friggin' affirmation, she said. She was really like, I always call it like if you remember when you were a kid, the idea of like being put in a corner and that you're hitting your head against a wall, like you have a dunce cap on, and this is driving me crazy. I just can't do another conscious creation technique, Alexis. I just can't even do another affirmation. I am so irritated and I'm so fed up with him. I am so irritated and fed up with manifesting. I am so irritated and annoyed with myself, right? The whole thing is just driving me bananas, but I'm here for you to help me. Okay. So she was a lot like that. And that is something that a lot of my clients, even if they aren't in that state or telling me that, they have really related to her story. And I think that it makes a lot of sense because oftentimes people are bringing, when you come to creating your relationship, recreating your partner, creating these major things that most people are really craving is being taken care of, being seen, being wanted, being heard. Things that we hear a lot, right, are what we're truly desiring with our person, which does come down to being unconditionally loved and accepted, wanted, valued, and having someone that's there for you in your time of need. Okay. And this client of mine, she and the specific person, they have kids together. They had been separated. She had manifested him back into the house, but the same typical themes were happening where she felt like she was the one doing everything. Everything rested on her shoulders. She was the one. She felt so responsible. And then a lot of that was causing also a lot of the anger, frustration, irritation, and annoyance within her. Okay. So if that speaks to you, or even if you're like really frustrated, like super annoyed, super irritated with doing affirmations, changing your thoughts to change your reality, this video is also for you. I totally get it. There's been so many times on my journey of recreating things, changing me, changing my relationship, changing reality, where we can feel frustrated, right? Because you feel like you are the one. A lot of the frustration I hear from people is that you feel like you're the one also then manifesting and creating it and the one changing it. Okay. So if this speaks to you, I want you to really not resist what's coming up for you, to not resist. Like I encourage her to not resist the frustration, the irritation, the anger, and the annoyance of the whole thing. Right. But we want to see that the answer to this is you are frustrated. Like I said to her, what are you really frustrated about? Like what's really bothering you? What's really annoying you? What is it? And for her, it came down to this whole idea of, I am the one that has to do everything. I'm the responsible person. And she had a lot of stuff going on in her mind about like the SP, her husband, but they had separated, then they were getting back together, etc. Like she had labeled it kind of like he was the, and actually I see this a lot too in social media about relationships. Like he's the relaxed one. He's the one who's easygoing. He's got everything together. And then also for the kids and for her, it was like he was the fun one. And she was so serious. She was responsible. She had to hold it down. Okay. Well, I'll tell you, for a lifetime and being in a family situation and being in a relationship with your specific person, you don't have to settle for anything. Right. And I said to her, okay, I said, maybe you're also angry and also frustrated, also annoyed because you want to be having a good time. We don't just want it to be like, oh, he's the fun one. He's so easygoing. And then I am like Miss Super Serious. I'm the one over here, like secretary of the family right now. There's a lot of reasons also why couples take on and why with your specific person, the two of you have, generally speaking, in our 3D reality, we tend to be with someone where there is a yin and a yang, or a yin and a yang, or there are energetic differences. We could also call it masculine, feminine. This video really isn't about that, but if you tend to be the one that's more pragmatic, like maybe you're more introverted, then you might really always be into someone that is extroverted. This came up in sessions a lot this week too, where you want to change your meaning about the whole thing. Instead of like, oh, they're so fun, they're so easygoing, I am so serious, I'm getting everything done, and I'm also the manifester and I'm changing all my thoughts. No, right? You want to decide like, oh, part of why I'm frustrated, part of why I'm annoyed is I feel like I have the belief in the idea that I am the one doing everything all the time. Okay. And you don't have to label yourself and be the one that is also doing everything all the time and taking full responsibility for it. And then therefore being the one who's consciously manifesting it. Now I can hear the contrary opinions and ideas. Well, Alexis, you've also said in videos that this is my reality and that it is all me. Yes, you guys, it is, but it doesn't mean that if it is all you and if it is your reality and you get to just decide your perception, you don't want to be the one that's taking on all the blame either, or that it's your fault. I'm the one doing it. It's all me. It's all me in terms of it all falls on me. It's all my responsibility. Absolutely friggin' not. Right? Instead, you want to say, oh, well, guess what? Like, ask yourself, hey, like, what about this am I really frustrated about? Since I had so many, like everybody has talked about her and really related to her story, right? What I had asked her is, what are you actually, I want you to sit with yourself right now. What are you frustrated? What are you angry? What are you annoyed? What are you irritated about? Right? And she said, well, I am just so annoyed because he's never doing things around the house. He doesn't get the car washed. He's not doing this. And I said, okay, I get it. But like, what's it really about? Within you, what is it bringing about you? Right? And then she began to tell me the whole story of, oh, well, we had kids and we had this and I'm this. And then I became a nag and then this and that about my dad and about my mom. Everyone's got their whole intricate story within themselves about why they have been who they are. Okay. Now, funnily enough, too, what she ended up saying in her whole description of the whole thing was, oh, well, and then he would always just tell me he felt unloved. He felt underappreciated. He never felt valued. Okay. And I said, well, you've never mentioned that before. And I said, why do you think that why would he tell you he feels underappreciated, undervalued, and not loved? Right? Like, why did he ever tell you why he felt those things? And then she said, well, yeah, because he just always thought that I was this and I was criticizing and I was never happy. Right? So that tells us that in her reality, and if this speaks to you too, asking yourself like, oh, have I created a self-concept about myself in my relationship, in my scenario, in my reality where I am not the one having a good time. I am always having to be so responsible. Everything falls on me. Right. And then I am criticizing people, getting mad at people and getting frustrated instead of taking care of my need first for loving myself, having a good time, having fun, having excitement, being spontaneous and being able to live life with freedom. Right. So a lot of clients that I have are recreating people that they're married to, recreating long-term relationships or recreating a pattern that comes back. And a lot of times I find that people come to conscious manifesting, conscious creation with this idea that then they're learning, oh, it's all me. So therefore it's all my friggin' fault. Like it's me to blame. And you guys, it's not. What it is to blame, if anything, is your programming, your unconscious assumptions and belief systems about whatever it is, about relationships, about men, about women. It's things that you've taken on along the years, either through your parents or who the people who we're like your parents, school teachers, and major relationships. We have thoughts that become assumptions that become in the subconscious mind that then create our story of who we are and who we label ourselves to be in relationships. Okay. So it is not your fault. If there's anyone to blame, it is your programming and just your perception of how you took on reality. What I want to say too is this is not the time to start blaming and getting angry and getting mad at all the people that you thought thoughts about that then became your programming. If anything, you want to have a whole different story about that whole thing as well and be saying, oh, so I picked to come into this life as me, into this family, into this situation. You did choose some things about yourself, and that it was your perception that caused the assumptions about these major things that then create your story of who you are. That boop, there's your story of relationships. Okay. So it's also not the people's fault. It isn't your mom's fault or your dad's fault or your grandma's fault or your grandpa's fault. It isn't your ex-boyfriend's fault. It also isn't your specific person's fault, right? It's the deeper mind, the thoughts and the beliefs and the ideas that are now being held in place by you. So then I can understand. I always understand why everyone comes to this with this first initial idea. It's all my fault. I'm the one to blame. And no, it's not. It's just your limited perspective, which creates your limited beliefs. And then you also can't see the good that's happening, right? The thing about it is when you have the viewpoint of, they really bother me. This whole thing frustrates me. I'm so annoyed. I'm so irritated. They're not doing anything right. This isn't working for me. Then you guys also cannot see the good that's happening, right? Funnily enough, a lot of times in coaching calls that I have with clients, they'll tell me all the negative things, right? And then at like minute 30 or 35, they'll finally remember the one good thing that happened since I last saw them, right? And that one good thing that happened eventually becomes their overarching idea and perspective and their outlook on the whole thing. Because your outlook and your perspective and your overarching viewpoint on the relationship as a whole is also what matters, right? So we really have to get out of and find ways to self-soothe and get out of frustration, irritation, and annoyance, and remembering that it does come down to how you are moving through these emotions and really asking yourself, like I asked her, what are you really angry about? And a lot of it came down to her being so responsible, her having no time for herself, her having to do everything, her being the one, her being the one, her being the one. And I said, yes, I get it, but we have to create and decide and therefore manifest and project into your reality that you are cared for, that he does things for you too, and that you can offload and really release it all resting on you, right? So if we are here consciously creating our relationships, these are the things to really challenge yourself on and to not settle for less, right? If you are manifesting for someone who's not yet back into your reality, or you're manifesting for reconciliation, or you're manifesting for something to come back together after there's been like a pause, you also want to be very clear on the version of the person that you are bringing back into your reality. Because I hear it a lot like, okay, so when they come back and it gets so difficult, it's like, yes, I understand. But that also comes from the perspective of when they come back, it is not so difficult because they are the version of them that is loving and forgiving and compassionate and kind and cares about me and loves to do everything as a couple. And we're always connected, you see? So it's also like another way to look at it, everyone, is that what is the version of you that is taking on through all the frustration, taking on the responsibility, taking on the need to do everything. And then I'm the manifester and I'm doing all this. The more that you hold on to you that way, then you are creating, it's like saying they don't do enough. And then we are bringing in the version of them always consistently, consciously that can never do enough. Because remember too, the way that you describe people, who you think of them as and who you hold them to be inside of your conscious mind, that therefore is your subconscious mind, you are creating obligations and decisions of who they can show up as. So the more that you think, oh, they're like that client as an example, and like tailor this to your own viewpoint, like, oh, she would always say, he's just like Mr. Fun, Alexis. He does everything. The kids always laugh at him. And then I'm over here. It's like I'm the secretary. I have to do everything. I have to book all the appointments. I make all the phone calls, and I'm working and I'm keeping this together and I'm doing that. I do the laundry. Okay. Her voice doesn't sound like that. Okay. And I'm not trying to sound annoying at all. I am just using it as a differentiation to hear her story versus me speaking. Okay. But you know, it kind of, I mean, in a way, it did sound like that. Okay. So I'm being honest. So the more that you do that, the more that you are just post-sitting and creating and describing that your person doesn't meet your needs. And that also, like in that scenario, that she's just like, so then who is she agreeing she is for the rest of eternity into the relationship of this time? Is that she's just no fun. And it's also saying like, I never have fun. They have all the fun. I have to be so serious because they're not serious. And like, no, you don't have to do that. You don't have to agree to be who you've always been in order to keep things together, right? This is your time to consciously create like, oh, so if I'm so angry and I'm so frustrated, if my needs aren't being met, who do I want to be now? That's why we hear things in social media and in pop psychology about a glow up or about, which is in a lot of manifesting circles, like about self-concept, right? It's like reinvention of self and going through a period of, if this is what's being reflected into me, to me in my 3D reality about me, who am I? Right. And I'll tell you, like, I'm married. I have, we have Logan, who is my, gosh, he's 2.5 at this point. There is no way in heck that I am going to choose that, like, I am, you know, Miss Responsible, doing everything for everybody. Life is no fun. I just sit here making YouTube videos and that's what life is. No, definitely not. Right. But only because of the power to choose, who do I want to be? And I'll tell you, in my journey and in my marriage, in my relationship, who I choose to be, it's always evolved, right? That's why I think the idea of, oh, I've done enough self-concept, right? No, none of us have, because ideally who you are evolves in a progression of your whole life sphere. So like, I want to encourage you to think that the evolvement of your concept of who and who you choose to be, I can't say this enough, everyone, who you choose to be, it's going to change. Like, don't we want it to change? Who you describe yourself to be may not be who you describe yourself to be in 10 years. Like, I know the self-concept that I'm consciously created now within my marriage, with my partner, and being a mom and being a wife is totally different self-concept and who I related myself to be before I had met my husband, before I got married and all that, because a lot of things changed and shifted. And I was like, oh, so this is how I want to be as a mom. This is how I want to be as a daughter-in-law. This is how I want to be as a wife. Like, who is the ideal version of me? Who has all of the things, who has all of the connectivity with my husband, the emotional availability for me, who has a fun time, who has hobbies and activities and things I do for me. So if you're getting caught up in the manifestation speak of like, oh, I've done enough self-concept, I really want to encourage you to think that self-concept work is an evolution of self. It is to like the whole lineage of you in this lifetime, which is way more fun, right? Like, I've had some very fun clients this week who I've spoken to about, you know, like their hobbies, personal things. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like, who are different ages than me, who things that they do. And it's like, okay, so that shows us that you've chosen to evolve and grow and choose differently about you as the years have gone by or at different ages. So this idea, the point of this is to get out of frustration and irritation and into self-lovability, choosing differently who you are, and therefore choosing finally once and for all differently who they are. Because in this scenario, the more that, like, use this as an example, the more that she describes, oh, he's so fun and the kids love him, then like, who is she, right? The way she related to herself in their scenario was essentially, I'm so boring. Okay. I'm so boring. Nothing is happening for me. Like, I'm just here. Hello, everyone. Hello. Oh, mom, can you take out the trash? Oh, mom, can you do the laundry? Oh, mom, can you do this or that? Now, this applies to all of us because we all have a specific person. And this applies to you in who am I? Who are they can also show you, like the who are they that you've created can also show you. So who does that mean I am? Because you have to change your viewpoint of you, who you're being, who you're deciding you are, and then how you're reacting to them. Okay. Like I've said in the first 2 videos of this client, I had her do a lot of work on stopping telling him how to do things, getting angry at him, getting frustrated, criticizing, going at him for things and telling him how to fix himself, right? That will not help you. It's not to say that you can't communicate and discuss things from your true, authentic you, But we want to avoid telling people how to be because it just doesn't work, right? You want to think differently, decide differently about them. But how do we decide differently about them? It is deciding differently first about self and about the relationship as a whole and building it to what you want to be. I want to say too, that your answers are not always in them. There are so many leaves on our avocado tree that are falling down. Finally, we are getting some autumnal weather here in California. You know, I said the word autumnal to someone this week because it's like autumn. You know, we don't really have an autumn where I live, but like I'm really loving that it's getting cooler. It does get chilly in California. Okay, so I digress. Okay, but anyways, your answers and who you and what you're creating and what you can create. This is maybe some like out there information that I've not said in the video, but it's not just about them and it's not just about you. It's about what do I want and what's possible here because you're consciously creating this. You don't have to settle for, oh, you know, the opposite of who they are and the opposite of who you are. You want to choose something higher, something bigger, something greater, perhaps, right? That's why looking at like wonderful movies, couples that are working together, if you are around some, looking for information and thinking, okay, so what is that and what do I want to be? But who am I in this scenario that's like of my dream scenario, and who are they in this scenario of the dream scenario? So as much as I'm using references about looking at them and then choosing about them differently and using looking at them as a way to look at self differently, you also want to remind yourself, lots of reminders in this video, to think bigger, think higher, and think of a more evolved fashion, right? Okay, so the moral of the story, once again, is how do we get out of frustration, out of irritation, is to stop taking full like responsibility for everything, like everything is your fault. There's no need to consciously do that. Since your conscious mind is creating your reality, you can just change the perspective to, I understand I have things to work on. I'm trusting in my own process. That's the totality of my lifetime. I'm evolving to be the person I want to be, and they are evolving too. Okay. So I'll tell you though, that when I got this client to finally once and for all to stop getting angry at him, getting mad at him, doing her self-care, internal practices of self, it was a huge game changer because it was like she was creating and changing her thoughts about him and about her and about the whole thing. And then she was still, and out of a lot of this like burnout of being so frustrated that it was all her responsibility, like going at him, getting angry at him. And that was putting a stop mechanism on all the new thoughts because she was thinking new thoughts, changing new thoughts, having all her affirmations, but then having the same behavior in her 3D reality. So whatever you can tailor this to you, you want to change your behavior in the 3D reality. That's why there are so many videos about circumstances don't matter and don't react to your 3D, because the more that you react from a place of irritation, frustration, and annoyance, you create more, guess what? Irritation, frustration, and annoyance. It works that way. Okay. So this is video part 3. I'm going into more detail here and giving even more tips about what to do and really, you guys, what not to do, right? So you want to stop telling people how to treat you, stop going at them with tons and tons of criticism, and to stop being in the energy of, oh, what are you doing wrong? Right? Like if you're around your SP and they're just like the mere presence of them like shifts your energy and shifts you into being so annoyed, like I'm so annoyed, I'm so frustrated, but you're silent about it. You are projecting that into your reality. So you want to figure out a way to really have ways to stop doing that. Go into the bathroom, do something else, focus on you, make a smoothie, make a juice, make a toast, something to shift more into lovability, pleasantness in the moment as you change the story of you and of them and of the we. These are like 3D tips that always come with the caveat of the story that you hold of you and of them and of you as a we is what wins and what matters. And you have to persist in the chosen story as you take less action and do less things out of frustration, irritation, anxiety, and annoyance in your 3D reality. Okay. Also, I want to leave you with a reminder that you are the creator of your reality and that you are a spark of God and that you were created to learn all of the tools about how to pleasantly, effortlessly, easily recreate your reality. That this can be pleasant, effortless-ish, less efforting kind of way. Okay. So from that perspective, let's think about how to pleasantly, easily coexist in reality when you're recreating someone, right? How to stay out of frustration, irritation, and annoyance. The other thing is if you're watching these 3 videos and you're thinking, oh, I'm just like her, I'm so frustrated, I'm so annoyed, that's not the point. The point of these videos is to have you resonate and understand, A, you're not alone, and B, how do we quell the frustration and get into having of what we want and the desire? This is how we do this. Figuring out a way to cope and move through the major emotions and not resisting them, moving through them as you create anew, as you create the story, because you are the creator of your reality and the only one that can really create the whole thing in the way of your choosing and get other people to do things for you so that you don't have to be the responsible one that's doing everything for everyone all the time and making it happen, right? How do we get that? It's by changing and choosing a whole new action, a new perspective, and also deciding that you get to be who you want to be. You get to be having fun, having a good time, loving life, loving the relationship, receiving the love, and that it's all going in a smooth, less efforting kind of way. All right, you guys. So that sums it up. Let's move into the week having a positive outlook, thinking about what we want, creating the story about what we want, because we are conscious creators and therefore people love doing things for you. It is a joint effort in relationships. We're creating interdependence and it's all happening. I love you guys so much and I will see you in my next video. Have an awesome week and bye.